Golden Sun. This masterpiece of a Nintendo classic was released on the Game Boy Advance in 2001 to much critical and commercial success. Sure, it wasn't a Mario or a Pokemon, but it was still one of Nintendo's greatest turn-based fantasy RPGs, and it had one of the greatest soundtracks on the GBA as a whole, as well as a fantastic story that is simple enough for children to understand, yet complex enough for teens and adults to still enjoy. And to top it all off, it had a battle system and puzzle mechanics that do the same. It's a wonderful balance. And it was followed up by a sequel that brought the story to its climax. And there is also a third one that had no impact on the story, and most people don't like it that much. Golden Sun has been absent from Nintendo as of late. The most recent thing I can think of was Isaac being an assist trophy in Super Smash Bros. Brawl, but even he was removed in Smash for Wii U and 3DS, which is kind of sad. I was really hoping they'd make him a new character, but no. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. Instead, today on Gnoggin, let's talk about the alchemy within Golden Sun, and discuss just how accurate it really is. So, what is alchemy? Well, in the real world, alchemy is the predecessor to chemistry. It is considered by many in the past to be a form of magic, but really it was just science that they couldn't quite understand the complex natures of. Like how today, we know that when you mix vinegar and baking soda it explodes, and we know that's because of a chemical reaction down on the microscopic molecular level. But back then, they didn't know what a chemical or molecule was, so it was magic. They wrote down the magic, and writing it down makes it science. And thinking that it was somewhat magical, many alchemists would apply various forms of spiritism and religion to their science, creating alchemy. Now then, books, video games, Dungeons and Dragons, movies, etc. all of course exaggerate alchemy. Many real alchemists have written books about how to cast alchemic spells and control the elements, summon the gods, so to speak, and even create life. They have it all detailed and explain how to do it, but they never actually could because something was always off. They usually blamed it on their ingredients being crude and they needed better technology to refine them. But because of this, a lot of fantasy writers decided to take these alchemic texts and take out the part that says it doesn't work. And that's really what I mean by how accurate is the alchemy. In Golden Sun, all of the magic is alchemy, using their inner strength, their synergy. But how accurate to actual alchemic texts is it? First off, the base is correct. The world within Golden Sun is supported by the powers of 4 lighthouses and 4 rocks, each symbolizing one of the 4 elements. The classical elements, of course. And they were all connected to their respective planets. Venus and the element of Earth, Mars and the element of fire, Mercury and the element of water, and Jupiter and the element of air. Also, the only people who can use alchemy within Golden Sun are a few mythical beasts and adepts who can access their synergy. Just as, according to some alchemic texts, you need a vast knowledge of alchemy to be able to use it at all. Or you just need a strong enough connection to nature and the spiritual powers. The backstory of Golden Sun mentions that alchemy was once even more powerful, and civilizations were based on it, and empires created around it. And they even could turn lead into gold. And you probably recognize that last bit, as being able to turn lead into gold was one of the 2 primary goals of alchemy, the other one being eternal life. And while perhaps not eternal, vastly expanded lifespans are also present in Golden Sun. Within the Lemuria Kingdom, which is based loosely on Atlantis, which was believed to exist by many alchemists, and was said to have very advanced technology powered by alchemy, there exist humans that live far beyond that of traditional humans, hundreds upon hundreds of years of age. And this was thanks to alchemically charged water that they regularly have to drink. They essentially found something very similar to the ultimate goal of alchemy, an elixir that can extend your life. Likewise, drinking from this fountain heals your entire party and rejuvenates them. The few people who practice alchemy and various forms of magic today believe that people in the far past used to use it all the time. How else could pyramids have been built? How could all of the dragons and giants been killed off? The only reason we don't have it anymore is because humans have collectively slowly drifted away from it. So its power has weakened to the point of almost being no longer possible at all. And this concept is very similar to the events in Golden Sun. The whole reason it's called Golden Sun, the Lost Age, is because it takes place long after a lost age of man, an age where everyone could use alchemy, whereas now only a very, very small few can. The reason this is the case is because the power of alchemy fell into the wrong hands, because it was in everyone's hands, and alchemic wars started happening until a few people built massive lighthouses and used them to seal away most of the alchemy in the world. In a way, building these lighthouses saved the world. But little did they know of ether, the fifth element in alchemy. While this fifth element in alchemy isn't exactly mentioned in Golden Sun, its concept is there. Aether is spirit, it's life, and the planet has its own aether force too. And because these people sealed away alchemy, they too sealed away the aether. And thus, after thousands of years, the world is now beginning to die. It ran out of aether. Though, in Golden Sun it only mentions that the world ran out of its own synergy to keep itself alive, as in, keep the edges of the world from eroding away. Because the world is flat, by the way, in this game, not in the real world. Don't be stupid. So while they don't call it the same thing, synergy instead of aether or soul, the concept is still accurate. Especially considering that this power that the world sustains itself with is the Golden Sun within Mount Aleph, which is said to be all four elements merged into one, which is also what the aether is, all four elements, and a bit more, merged into one. And not coincidentally, the Earth's aether in real alchemy is called the Black Sun, or the Earth Sun. Either way, it's named after the sun. And speaking of the world in Golden Sun, the center of its alchemic power and where alchemy all began, and even where the world was first created, is called Mount Aleph. And Aleph is the first letter in the Hebrew alphabet, and much of alchemy was created by the Hebrews. So then, as far as lore and backstory goes, Golden Sun is super accurate. Another big part of Golden Sun is summoning gods and spirits for help in battle, like Thor and Zagan, Ramses, Tiamat, Nedrid, and more. And they chose excellent gods and spirits from mythology, as they all have at least something to do with alchemy, or at the very least, are from a culture that has a level of alchemy found within it. And yes, while summoning is leaning more towards the spiritism side of things, it is also a branch of alchemy, as some alchemical operations would require assistance from certain spirits and such, which is why so many transmutation circles have religious symbols and texts within them. This is also why the Catholic Church put so much effort into finding and imprisoning or even executing anyone caught doing alchemy. Another more spiritual-ish side of Golden Sun is the Jinn. They are little spirit creatures that empower humans with more elemental synergy. In Arab mythology, the Jinn were originally just spirits with spirit powers and such, but modernizations of them make them out to be spirits with elemental powers, so I'll give that a pass. Jinn can independently decide to be good or evil, and can either help or meddle in human affairs, which includes getting involved in Arabian alchemy, much like in Golden Sun. In Golden Sun Dark Dawn, you are tasked with the mission to reactivate many alchemic machines, which are, as they sound, machines that are powered by alchemy. Many alchemic texts and illustrations from the Middle Ages, as well as alchemy's modern rise in the 1700s and 1800s, show alchemic machines doing all sorts of things. Most notable is this one, which is said to be able to retrieve recently passed souls and store them. After all, souls are just aether, the fifth element in alchemy. And with a machine like this, you could theoretically attach souls to an object, or even perform resurrections. The Elder of Prox in Golden Sun was particularly interested in this subject. Also, the plot of Dark Dawn is to stop the Grave Eclipse from happening, which is an alchemical-induced eclipse that opens portals to the other side of reality, and summons monsters everywhere, which will end the world as they know it. And in alchemy and mysticism, eclipses are often symbols of the end times, or symbolic of great changes about to occur. So overall, yeah, Golden Sun does a good job in being accurate to alchemy, albeit it's very simplified, but being a game aimed at a younger audience, that's probably for the better. Though there are also next to no transmutation circles. I mean, there are circles that appear around the characters casting alchemical spells, but they are hardly the detailed transmutation circles. Though the seal symbol is similar to a transmutation triangle, and there are a few magical circles in various summons, but perhaps this lack of detailed alchemic magical circles was partially due to the Game Boy Advance's limitations, as in Dark Dawn there are a few more alchemic circles, such as the one binding the Djinns to your party, and this one used by Zagan when you summon him. Zagan, by the way, being a demon known for his power of transmutation in demonology. A few other summons have these magical circles as well, significantly more than in the GBA games. Also, plenty of real-world alchemists gave influence to Golden Sun's naming of characters. Isaac, the main character who is an adept of Earth, is named after Isaac Newton, who discovered gravity, and yes, fun fact, was also an alchemist. And while in my research that's as far as specific name origins go for characters in your parties, they do all have names deriving from a culture where alchemy was developed. And then there's this guy, Kraden. He's the closest thing to a real-world alchemist in these games as you can get. While not able to perform much of any alchemy himself, he is very intelligent and has extensive knowledge on it. Much like many real groups of alchemists such as the Thelema and the Golden Dawn, they would gather up artifacts of all kinds from all cultures and study them, trying to reignite the power of alchemy within them. Just like in these games with the lighthouses. And wait a second. The Golden Dawn? Golden Dawn? Golden Sun, Dark Dawn. Golden Sun. When the sun rises, it's called dawn. Golden Sun, Golden Dawn. Surely this is only coincidental. No. No. Obviously it isn't. The Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn were most active in the 1800s and early 1900s, and some even persist today. And they didn't only study alchemy, but also every single aspect of the occult, metaphysics, paranormal activities, astronomy, summoning, everything. And from every culture they would pull information and magical artifacts in an attempt to focus it in one spot and bring magic back. And in Golden Sun, you travel the world, and every location is based on a real-world location, and you gather up artifacts and alchemic powers and summons from them while on your journey. There's places based on Japan, China, India, the Middle East, Egypt, Europe, the Sahara Desert, even South America and Australia, and the great forests of North America, even Alaska and Antarctica. They are all marked with their own landscapes, as well as the architecture in the area. There is also the Babi Lighthouse, based on the biblical Tower of Babel in the Middle East and Egypt area. And that tower is also a symbol in various mysticisms. So it's like the tale of Golden Sun is just a fantasization of the journeys many of those in the Golden Dawn took, researching and gathering artifacts all over the world, trying to reignite the power of alchemy. The only difference being, of course, the actual powers, and them actually succeeding. Well, cool. Now you know too, and with this newfound knowledge, my love of Golden Sun has only deepened. I highly recommend playing the first two, even if it's just on an emulator. And make sure you have your sound on, because the music is amazing. And the third Golden Sun is still good, just not nearly as much. And if you liked this delve into alchemy, then check out this video series about the alchemy found within Pokemon. And until next time, click the bell to never stop using your noggin. Fantastic story that is simple enough for children to understand, yet complex enough for teens and adults to still enjoy. And to top it all off, it had a battle system and puzzle mechanics that do the same. It's a wonderful balance. And it was followed up by a sequel that brought the story to its climax. And there was also a third one that had no impact on the story, and most... Golden Sun. This masterpiece of a Nintendo classic was released on the Game Boy Advance in 2001 to much critical and commercial success. Sure, it wasn't a Mario or a Pokemon, but it was still one of Nintendo's greatest turn-based fantasy RPGs, and it had one of the greatest soundtracks on the GBA as a whole. As well as Let's talk about the alchemy within Golden Sun, and discuss just how accurate it really is. So, what is alchemy? Well, in the real world, alchemy is the predecessor to chemistry. It is considered by many in the past to be a form of magic, but really it was just science that they couldn't quite understand. People don't like it that much. Golden Sun has been absent from Nintendo as of late. The most recent thing I can think of was Isaac being an assist trophy in Super Smash Bros. Brawl, but even he was removed in Smash for Wii U and 3DS, which is kind of sad. I was really hoping they'd make him a new character, but no. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. Instead, today on Gnoggin and the complex natures of. Like how today we know that when you mix vinegar and baking soda it explodes, and we know that's because of a chemical reaction down on the microscopic molecular level. But back then, they didn't know what a chemical or molecule was. So, it was magic. They wrote down the magic, and writing it down makes it science. And thinking that it was somewhat magical, many alchemists